1915, the Dardanelles, where Europe meets Asia, the point where two worlds collided. The Allies called it the Gallipoli campaign. For the Turks, the name was simple, Çanakkale. Both sides believed they were defending civilization. But in the end, everyone was only defending survival. The British Empire sent its sons here from the farthest corners of the world, from Australia, New Zealand, India. They thought the war would be short, easy, and glorious. What they found was only dust, disease, and death. In this video, you will hear the diaries and letters of those who lived the war firsthand. An Anzac soldier, Alistair John Taylor, began to question everything after reaching the front. When you hear the letter he wrote to his family, you'll feel as if you're watching All Quiet on the Western Front, the novel-turned-film that set viewing records on Netflix.
My dear and once happy family, greetings to you all from the hell of Gallipoli. I never intended to write this letter. In fact, I'm no longer sure I want to speak to anyone or even see anyone's face. But don't mind me calling this place hell. It's actually beautiful. Before everything was buried under dust and soil, there were olive trees everywhere, the joyful red poppies blooming despite the war, the sunsets that paint the peninsula crimson, and the nightingales of Gallipoli. If there's still a tiny piece of my soul left unshattered, I owe it to those nightingales. If we're not killing a Turk, or being killed by them, we watch the magnificent sunsets of Gallipoli, knowing that the sun sinking into the Aegean had risen only hours before over the Pacific Ocean to light up the next day in New Zealand makes one's heart ache. Am now nothing but an Anzac soldier. The songs, the food, the scents, the people I loved, all gone. I'm just a number now, a living number. And when I die, I'll still be a number, one who died heroically for his country. Heroically and for his country. Heroism? Oh, come now. Heroism can't be forced. As for country, this is the Turks' country, and this war is not ours. We, as the British say, are merely eager boys. The real heroes are the Turks. They are defending their homeland against us under the harshest conditions, and they are the ones truly dying bravely. Last week, when a ceasefire was declared to bury the dead, we saw the Turks up close for the first time, alive. They weren't the monsters we had been told about. They were young men with worry and sorrow in their eyes. They too had families waiting, old parents, wives, perhaps lovers. They bled when wounded. They died, leaving behind their youthful dreams. The Turks were human too. I refuse to die in this war. This is not my war. But I have no will left to live either. God, forgive my sins. I love you all dearly. Alistair John Taylor, August 10th, 1915, Gallipoli.
Before the war even began, a Turkish student in Istanbul wrote the following letter to his mother.
My dear mother, after 2 long years of exile that wore us down, we are finally being released. I am happy that I will soon be reunited with you and our family. They are taking over our school. It will be turned into a hospital, and we are being transferred to other schools in Istanbul. Most of our teachers are joining the army, and the senior students are volunteering as well. Today, our Turkish teacher came to class, but didn't stay long. He said goodbye and told us, when the time comes, the service done on the battlefield will be more sacred than the service done in school. For the past few days, soldiers have been marching through the streets of Çanakkale, singing, in Çanakkale, at the mirrored bazaar, Mother, I'm going off to fight the enemy. Officers on horseback, artillery wagons, supply mules, and camel caravans fill our streets. They say there will be war. The British and French fleets are patrolling outside the straits. They are expected to bombard this area. I wish I could witness it, but we will soon be leaving Çanakkale. Still, I am happy that I will see you again soon. Please kiss Father's hands for me and give my greetings to my brothers and sisters. Your son, Seyfullah.
A sailor, after receiving a package from his little sister, sent her a photo card and wrote the following note on the back.
My dear little sister, today, on August 16th, I received your letter and the 2 packages you sent me. The canned food you included made me very happy. The butter and wafers you sent were delicious. In your previous letter, I had asked for some canned food to celebrate our 6th month on the front. I'm sending you a photo of our crew. Look at it and tell me how it makes you feel. We took this picture in front of the 30 caliber guns. You can see the bow of the ship above our heads.
A sailor who arrived in Çanakkale sent the following letter to his mother from aboard his ship.
My dearest mother, because of the shells falling all around us, the submarines roaming in every direction, and the constant danger of hitting a torpedo at any moment, this place is beyond endurance. At first, I was a little frightened, but during last Sunday's sermon, I remembered the priest's words. In times of danger and fear, look up to the heavens. So I always look to the sky. Mother, but do you know why? Not to seek God. I look to see if one of those cursed bomb-dropping warplanes is up there.
Through his brilliant tactics at the Battle of Çanakkale, Mustafa Kemal changed the course of the war and became the hero of all Turks. From the front lines, he sent a letter to a female friend. 7 years after this war, Mustafa Kemal would rise from the ashes of the fallen Ottoman Empire to establish a new Turkish Republic and become its first president.
My dear friend, when the situation in the Dardanelles became somewhat critical, I had to leave Sofia without even bidding farewell to my friends. I knew that this was, on my part, an act of discourtesy. I have been here for 2 months now, defending the Dardanelles against the fleets and forces attempting to force their way through. So far, dear Karim, I have always succeeded, and as long as I remain here, I strongly hope that I shall continue to succeed. You should not be surprised to hear my name mentioned here, for I preferred to give the honor of being the hero of an important battle to Sergeant Mehmet. Of course, you may have no doubt that it was your friend who directed the battle, and who, on the night of the engagement, stood side by side with Sergeant Mehmet in the fighting lines. Corinne, do not ask me why I could not inform you of my departure from Sofia or my presence here. You would not understand how deeply and seriously I am occupied. But rest assured, I shall never forget the beautiful moments that have left indelible marks in our memories. Time passes, yet it always strengthens the bonds between true friends. The past and its memories possess eternal life. Do not forget me, Corinne, even if I should die in this war.
Lieutenant Oliver Hogue, 2nd Australian Light Horse Brigade, recounts,
The Turks asked us if we could arrange a one-day ceasefire so they could bury their dead. Thus, from 7 o'clock in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon, we experienced a pleasant period of silence. I watched them for an hour or two as they buried their dead. It was a dreadful task. One of our men said, "I don't mind shooting them, but I wouldn't want to bury them."
Let's now listen to 2 recollections from Commander Mustafa Kemal, the hero of the Turkish forces at Gallipoli.
We do not concern ourselves with scenes of individual heroism, but I cannot pass without telling you about the event at Bombasserti. The distance between our trenches and the enemy's was 8 meters. Death was certain, absolutely certain. Those in the first trench would fall, none surviving. Those in the second would immediately take their place. But with what remarkable calm and composure, do you know? They watched their comrades fall before them, fully aware that their own turn would come within minutes. Yet there was no panic, no wavering. Those who could read quietly held the Quran in their hands. The others whispered their prayers and kept moving forward. This is an astonishing and praiseworthy example of the spiritual strength within the Turkish soldier. You may be certain that it was this spirit that won the Battle of Çanakkale. Another memory. I saw a few soldiers running away from the enemy. "Why are you running?" I asked. "Sir, the enemy," they said. "Where?" I asked. "There," they said, pointing to Hill 261. "One does not run from the enemy," I told them. "We have no ammunition left," they replied. "If you have no ammunition, you still have your bayonets," I said. And I ordered them to fix bayonets and lie down. As they did so, the enemy soldiers also lay down. That moment, that very instant, was when we won. It was the moment that changed the fate of an entire battle. Though the situation was extremely dangerous, that historic instant became the foundation of an unforgettable victory. Reinforcements soon arrived, entered the battle line, and drove the enemy all the way back to the shore. Then I called out to my men. I am not ordering you to attack. I am ordering you to die. By the time we die, other forces and other commanders will have taken our place.
Private Frank Smith was behind the front lines during the May 19th offensive, so he could not witness that phase of the battle. However, the day before the truce, he moved closer to the firing line and was there to witness the day of the ceasefire.
In the new trenches we had just taken over, we began digging small dugouts for shelter. At Y o'clock, the ceasefire between the Turks and the Australians was to begin. It would last until 4 in the afternoon, giving both sides a chance to bury their dead. Around noon, I went up to the frontmost trenches. The sight was overwhelming. In front of the first line lay hundreds of Turkish soldiers, their bodies stretched across the slopes. Scattered among them were countless bullets, pieces of ammunition, and broken crates. When Captain Robertson mentioned that he had found the body of our comrade, Lieutenant Robert, I was stunned. Using some digging tools I had found, I began to help dig graves for the fallen. By the end of the day, nearly all of the Australian dead, and perhaps 2,500 to 3,000 Turkish soldiers as well, had been buried. Looking up at those ridges, it seemed impossible that anyone could have climbed them under fire. At the very top, we found the remains of an Australian who must have died on the first day of the landings, his uniform torn to shreds by the battle.
In a letter to his mother, Lance describes the front through what he sees as the 3 most significant events of the campaign.
My dear mother, in my opinion, although many things have happened on this peninsula, there have been 3 truly significant events so far. The first was the landing operation, an event that history will not forget for many years. To grasp its scale, magnificence, and near miraculous nature, one must see the very spot where it took place. It was, without doubt, a brilliantly planned operation. The second was the counterattack by thousands of Turks on May 11th. Compared to them, our losses were quite small, about 500 men along the entire line. Since the day of the landing, it was the first and only time they had come at us in such great numbers. The third was the attack at Texham, planned by our 6th Reinforcement Unit, where we suffered very heavy losses. I might consider myself lucky for not having taken part in it. Almost the fiercest fighting of the entire campaign took place there. I have lost so many dear friends. November 12th, 1915, Gallipoli, Lance.
A letter from an Anzac soldier to his father.
My dear father, I've been in the hospital on Lemnos for some time and have just returned to the front line. I went through terrible days because of dysentery, but I'm feeling better now. I just want this war to end. I've had enough. You must have read about the 1st Brigade's attack at Texham. I took part in that assault myself, and I never want to see anything like it again. When we reached the Turkish trenches, everything and everyone had been shattered by naval shell fire. I saw Turkish soldiers lying everywhere, piled 3 or 4 deep. There's a Connaught battalion here. They've been burying the dead for a week.
A soldier named Jamie describes to his friend Eric what war is really like in the following letter.
I imagine you often wonder what it's really like to be at war, or rather, to be in battle. To tell you the truth, it's nothing at all like being at home in Australia. The machine guns rattle everywhere, pat, 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 and the big shells tear through the air with a sharp, terrible scream before crashing down with an explosion, ripping up the ground and leaving huge craters behind. In some places, the distance between our trench and the Turks is only about 18 meters. They do the same things we do. All day long, we watch them, and they watch us. On certain days, they bombard our trenches in the valley with shells of every size, trying to break our lines and cause as much damage as possible. The big guns we call Jack Johnsons are between 8 and 10 inches in diameter. You can hear the shells as they travel through the air. You rush into a dugout or a tunnel, wait for the explosion, and after the shrapnel has scattered across the peninsula and fallen, you come back out and carry on. Then there are the smaller ones we call 15s. Their shells are about 75 millimeters across. They come almost like rifle bullets, one after another. When those start falling, you'd better get off the road as quickly as you can. October 13th, 1915. Jamie, Gallipoli.
The Ottoman Empire repelled the Allied fleet on March 18th, 191. 5 ***. A month later, on April 25th, 191. 5 ***. British, Australian, New Zealand, and French forces landed on the shores of the Gallipoli Peninsula. The fighting continued until the end of the year. Both sides suffered enormous losses. Nearly 500,000 soldiers were killed or wounded in total. And so, we've reached the end of another video. If you'd like, I can share more letters from other fronts as well. Don't forget to like and comment. It means a lot to me. Take means a lot to me. Take care and see you in the next one.